Welcome back to the Cult. I'm Saucebreaker. Cult of the Lamb is an amazing looking game. So much so that you can forget it's a video game with hundreds of codes. After all, Cult of the Lamb was in development for 4 years. Unfortunately, I am really dumb when it comes to code. I deadass dropped Java because I had hated troubleshooting. However, after making my iceberg video, I was contacted by a viewer about some stuff in the code that might be of interest. So, for this video, we will go through the code of Cult of the Lamb and see if there's any interesting stuff. Note that I won't be showing any of the framework of the code, just some fun things like unused stuff or anything of note. With all that being said, let's get into it. Starting out with the one that caught my eye first. There is code in the game where it is possible for followers to freeze, overheat, and burn to death. In addition, it seems like there was also code to keep track of how many snow piles there were left in the base. Now, these 4 codes kept track of how many were unalived, so we can assume that at some point, Massive Monster were thinking of having different and extreme weather systems. Maybe of following a seasonal calendar? Who knows? But I hope that this becomes a reality, as we did get that short with the goat and the sea being frozen over. There's a set of 4 codes that relates to a horse town. It seems this horse town could have been similar to the lighthouse and mushroom village that we see in the final game, especially since it seems it was possible to pay respect to the horse, and in doing so they would join your cult. It also looks like there was a chest that would be opened, and I'm not sure if it would be a one-time item or have goodies that would restock, but one can only make so many assumptions off of one code. It seems that this code may have been in the game for a while, as I did see a Reddit post almost 2 years ago talking about it. It seems turning the code to true doesn't really do anything, so maybe one day in the future, Horsetown will be a thing. Something unique that happens when you try to mess with the code is what can happen with follower skins. Every follower you recruit has a skin name. Changing the skin name to something that doesn't exist gives you a unique follower that my buddy dubs Glitch Cat. This cat is a solid white with no features or marks and cannot be tamed legitimately. There really isn't too much to say about this interaction, but it is interesting that if you do go outside the normal code parameters, you get something unique such as this. Let's talk about baby followers. As you know, you can make your followers have a baby, and you can't really change them after they hatch. Or can you? It seems baby followers still follow the same rules as every other follower, as you can select any follower form and make them as a baby. This holds true for the bishops, which means that you can make duplicates of the bishops as babies, then wait for them to become normal adults, and there you go. It is a little goofy seeing the bishops act as babies, but hey, it's just their heads placed on top. A trivia that I saw when going through the wiki was that the Executioner was once a boss, or had a fight at one point, but it seemed to be cut. There it lies, a single code that proves that it was at some point where it would check to see if you have defeated the Executioner, which, given that we know we defeated the Executioner at the start of the game, it wouldn't really make sense to fight him again. Another example of something not making sense is not joining my Discord server, where you could talk to me and my chaps about anything and be a cool guy. Help me please, I'm so lonely. This is a bit of a random one, but one that I wondered about since seeing it. There is a true or false code called players shagged. Now, I never heard of a player being shagged, but when rereading it, it says players shagged, meaning that this has to be done in co-op. But what? What action or thing could cause this event code to change? Something that would happen to both players at the same time. And now I'm convinced that this code ticks when the players go into the tent. And I hope you know what happens when you play in co-op. Don't shag your partner. Without me. Of course, in every game, there lies some kind of sandbox mode where you can do/move anything. Cult of the Lamb is no different, and in the code, you can activate sandbox mode. You can move the shrine away from its original spot, and I hope it doesn't stay in sandbox mode. I hope this kind of feature goes from sandbox into the actual game, so that way it gives us a little bit more customization. The Mystic Seller is a mysterious entity, one that we don't know the name of, and that you have to pick a name for them. Even in the code, it doesn't give us a true name for the seller, but it does give us a different name for them. In the code, the seller is referred to as Mystic Keeper. Why they are called this in the code isn't known. I think it could have been an old name the devs used when first making them, but didn't change it for whatever reason. After all, doing a name change late in development could be a massive headache. Shells are a resource that you can offer to the snail statues to get the snail follower form. At this point in time, that's all the shells are good for. However, in the code, there are 5 sets of code relating to gifting shells. These codes keeps track of how many shells were gifted from 0 to 4. It makes you wonder if this was meant that the shells could have been gifts for your followers, or that this was a different way to keep track of shells offering to the statues. Do keep in mind that there are 5 snail statues in the game, so I'm not entirely sure what it could have been used for since the max limit was 4.
Hey, Saucebreaker here at 6 a.m. Really should be asleep, but while I was getting footage, my buddy informed me of a mod that I missed out on that I thought was a little bit interesting for the lamb. Similar to how we got the goat in the Unholy Alliance, I saw that we got an additional 2 other skins when I was playing the game with mods. An owl and a snake skin, which, if you aren't aware, were cut characters from the game that were also shown in a book with the goat and the lamb. So, although it isn't a direct code that the developers left in, as this is technically just mods, I did find it interesting enough that somebody was able to recreate it as impressive as the scrapbook gave us. I didn't see much people talking about it online, and I thought it was interesting, so I want to include it here. And now we go back to our past Saucebreaker, here to where he isn't awake for like 18 hours. Yeah.
And finally, for our last code, Narinder has an interesting ID and skin name as a follower in the code that relates to his character. Narinder's follower ID is 666, which is an infinite number which is associated with Christianity's number of the beast. The skin name has a, fittingly, Boss Death Cat, which is quite fitting for him. And that is where we will end our investigation into the Cult of Lamb code. I hope you found these things as interesting as I did, and if you have any more codes or anything I missed out on, please let me know, as I know I've only really touched the surface in regards to this, and hopefully I can make another video on this topic sooner than later. Remember to join the cult and subscribe, and until then, I will see you guys next time.